one day. It's all we need to get into the next portion of information warfare that we are up against. Despite all the evil that we see playing out before us, there are victories posted in many elections across the Republican board heading into this year's election. This will help us continue the fight for freedom across the USA and ensure the evil plans are squashed at this moment in time. There's a never-ending battle ahead of us. And let's be glad that the right folks are there fighting. We have responsibility, we the people. 514,000 followers on Rumble. It's our go-to for free speech. We appreciate that. You helped us get to number 3 on the leaderboard again with our video yesterday. And thank you to hitting that like button and putting comments below. If you guys didn't know, we have the new in for fall 100% cotton women's long sleeve V-necks. I'm going to show you more of this later on, Patriots gear.
If you've been wanting something a little extra, our rhinestone collection is just for you. The same comfy apparel you already love, just with a little sparkle. We always encourage you to wear your And We Know apparel out in hopes that you'll meet like-minded people, and you're sure to stand out in these. Available now on the Shop And We Know site.
The Shop And We Know site, I've told you many times, but just want to remind you, if you hit the shop button at andweknow.com, that'll take you to our shop, and you can grab the gear. Also, 2027 Alaska Cruise is listed for you to see all of the entertainment that we have for you. Comedy, we have music, and so much more. Hoping you guys jump on board. The Census Bureau has begun checking the voter records from 2020 against their citizenship records, says the White House. On the first 128 million voters, the Census Bureau proves that over 24,000 non-citizens voted illegally. The Census Bureau is going to analyze the next 32 million voters, and this number will explode. I won the election. We must pass the Save America Act. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Observing Consciousness chimed in. Zoom out. This is not just about 2020. We are being shown. Once those voter rolls, citizenship data, and identity records are fused into one verification layer, you are building permanent election infrastructure, a system that can audit past elections, identify ineligible registrations, clean voter rolls, expose repeat vulnerabilities, and verify future elections before disputed results harden into years of political warfare. This is the real shift. 2020 is the test case. The architecture is for every election that follows. Let's play this clip.
Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC fake news.
So make sure that we had all this information out. President Trump has discussed it before. Now, let me show you something going on in Florida. If you guys didn't know, the Representative Corey Mills lost to Ryan Elijah.
And Ryan Elijah winning an outright. There it is. NBC News projects that broadcaster Ryan Elijah has defeated Republican Congressman Corey Mills in the primary in Florida's 7th congressional district. Mills, whose campaign was beset by scandal, by allegation, by the notable lack of a late endorsement from Donald Trump. Trump had endorsed him early in this campaign, like last year. Trump sort of re-endorsed a series of candidates late in this race. Mills was notably not one of them. And Mills has gone down to defeat, and a sizable defeat in this congressional district. Again, Ryan Elijah defeating him. This is a district where in the general election, you see Trump has carried this district by 12 points in 2024. Democrats were hoping that Mills would be the nominee because they believed that with his baggage in a district like this, they might be able to make it a game in the general election, but that plan was dependent on Mills winning this primary. Republicans have taken Mills out.
Democrats, it's amazing when they want somebody to win. You know, Corey Mills, a reminder from MAGA Voice, never forget, he voted to keep Ilhan Omar on her committee after she justified Charlie Kirk's murder. Okay? Just make sure you know. Florida governor, the winner on the Republican side is Donald's, 49% to 24%. The Florida primary over. The Republicans are closing the ranks. He said, tonight we put aside our differences. Tonight we are one united Republican Party. James Fishback called to concede within hours, and the two are now working together against David Jolly in November. The race got personal expensive. The concession still came the same night, answered with an olive branch instead of a victory lap. They're both bringing their own tools to the table for the fight that matters most, beating Democrats in November. Elon Musk actually said, congratulations, Byron. You certainly have my full support. Now, something I thought was really cool, Joe Lang pointed this out. It's amazing how fast the elections can be determined if they aren't controlled by Democrats. Los Angeles had 2.2 million ballots cast, 6 full days to count 85%. Florida had 3.3 million ballots cast, and in 45 minutes, they counted up to 85%. Just showing you the difference, Florida, California. Now, President Trump said a lot of great wins tonight, President DJT. Interesting that he posted this at 9:37 p.m. on the 18th. Ripcord saw this and said, folks, look at 937 on the cue board. We are winning big. That's right. That's what it says on the cue board. So it's not a coincidence that they continue to use this to reach out to us to let us know. And it says, glimpse. You cannot possibly imagine the size of this. Trust the plan. Trust there are more good than bad. The world is helping. We are not alone. We are all connected in this fight. Patriots unite. We're winning big. Watch the speech. God bless. And here we are. Good morning. We are going to win. That's what we were told by Department of War CTO. And you can see the number of victories where President Trump actually endorsed, and watch these folks get through. Tremendous work all the way around. Let me show you this from CNN.
The Democratic brand. You know, Donald Trump's political brand ain't too hot to trot these days. But I got to tell you, PU, when it comes to the Democratic brand, the net favorability rating of the Democratic Party. You know, back in 2018, when Democrats, during the first Trump presidency, right, when they were able to win back control of the House, they were even. They were even, right? Favorable minus unfavorable, even at 0, 0, 0. Now look at this. 25 points underwater. Oof. Oof. You know, the Dem brand, as I said, it's not too good these days. It's not too good. It kind of smells like a New York.
PU. It stinks. All right, Reverend Jordan Wells said black voters are not coming home to Democrats, and it's rewriting the entire 2026 map. Only 69% of black Americans say they'll back a Democrat in their district, a stunning 21-point drop from Biden's 2020 share. In Michigan, far-left Senate nominee Abdul El Sayed is stuck at just 75% among black voters, down 18 points from Biden. His Democratic Socialist brand is toxic. Only 36% of black Americans view the DSA favorably. Fox News Power Rankings just flipped Michigan's Senate race to a toss-up. Texas is a toss-up, too, where Democrat James Tallarico is leading or tied with Republican Ken Paxton in recent polls. 3 more gubernatorial races tightened this week. The safe black vote is gone. The map is shifting. Well, I think it's really kind of interesting. They bring this up, right? The Fox News power rankings. They shifted both the Texas Senate race, Ken Paxton, right, versus James Tallarico, and the Michigan Senate race with El Sayed and Mike Rogers. They changed it to toss-ups now. Any one of them can win, leaving Republicans and Democrats tied with 47 safe Senate seats each and 6 toss-ups. I don't like that. My hope is that Fox News is part of some type of psyop that's going on. You remember, they're the ones that called Biden. Fox News. Well, Fox News report. We just want to let you know that Biden already won, even though 1% came in of the votes. I think it was in Arizona. We're calling Arizona. Yep, it's not for president. It's going to go to Biden or something like that. And I was like, man, what in the world are they doing? So let's hope that that's the case, because I just don't understand how in the world that would work. Are we looking at people that are that lost that they would bring craziness into this whole thing? Well, if you go to Florida, Angie Nixon is a member of the Democrat Socialist of America. She won the Democrat primary for U.S. Senate in Florida. Yeah, remember her? Fools. The louder they get, the stupider they look. She also said this in a recent interview on some podcast.
I don't understand, like, there's no sexualization at a drag show. It's just
There's no sexualization at the drag show.
People dressing up and singing and performing. I've taken my children to drag shows, and it's fun. It's entertainment. It's wholesome entertainment. Yes. And there's nothing wrong. It's just like, I don't get it.
You don't get it. And I throw this in there just as a sidebar. You guys can let me know what you think. You ever wonder what they're doing behind the scenes when they think and talk like this? Do they even have their right minds about them? What are they involved in? Who are they worshiping? Who is their God? When they see nothing wrong with and take their children to watch men dressed as women making fools of themselves. We got a lot more on this. The DSA, their targets on the Constitution, and Fauci. Boy, you don't want to miss it. Stick around. Are you tired of tap water loaded with toxins like lead, arsenic, and chlorine? That hidden danger building up in your pipes, your showers, your family's health? What if every drop could be pure, mineral-rich, and delicious instead? Introducing the AQ Whole House Water Filtration System from Century H2O. The revolutionary two-stage powerhouse neutralizes hard and soft scale, no salt needed, while stripping away over a dozen nasty contaminants, fluoride, pesticides, bacteria, even pharmaceuticals. Custom options for city or well water, including iron and nitrates removal. For homes up to 2,500 square feet, it delivers alkaline, calcium-enriched water. Every faucet can get it. Say goodbye to dry skin and dull hair. Century H2O's shower water filter hydrates like a spa day. Their compact under-sink wellness system, well, it's a 5-stage filtration in zero-waste design, boost pH, adds magnesium, installs in 15 minutes, no plumber required. Thousands of families transforming their water. So folks, shop the AQ Revolution at centuryh2o.com/AQ in the description box below. Please use that code AWK for 10% off, and that if you're starting a New Year's health journey, toxin-free water can help with weight loss and overall health as well. We interviewed Nelson last month. See the full interview in the link below to learn more.
Thousands of men and women haven't touched land in nearly 9 months, and as their deployment drags on, conditions aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln continue to deteriorate. Military families at the Naval Air Station in San Diego want to know when their sailors will finally return. ABC's Leonel Moyes has more on the pushback now from the Trump administration.
So the pushback from the Trump administration. Oh, we're all going to get into the military now. The mainstream media cares about the military. All of a sudden, these liberal freaks, ABC News, poor conditions on a Navy ship. They even went out there to prove it. They haven't touched land in 268 days. Oh my goodness, these guys, they signed up for the military. They were doing these things. Oh my goodness, so bad. Certainly he shows that he doesn't care, President Trump. CNN made it to the ship to report. It's amazing, right? The timing of all of this to get seeds of doubt into all these folks, the sheep, as they go into the elections.
Reports of poor conditions on the USS Abraham Lincoln leading to fallout in Washington. The 5,000 sailors and Marines have been at sea for a record 268 days. Some aboard the ship telling CNN,
I haven't stepped off the ship in the year 2026. I haven't been off the ship. I haven't touched land.
Describing it as awe-inspiring, U.S. Central Command posting video of CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper visiting sailors with reports of extreme exhaustion, low morale, and growing mental health concerns. A U.S. official telling ABC News one sailor went overboard the ship earlier this month, but was quickly recovered. That incident now under investigation. Defense Secretary Hegseth has called reports of poor conditions completely misrepresented.
I know the commanding officer, in particular the commanding officer of the Lincoln, is working these issues hard. And I also believe the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle.
The president on Friday downplaying concerns.
No. Not nearly long enough.
This deployment gone on too long. These poor military folks that we care about so much. I mean, we didn't care about them before at all, but now we actually care because there's a midterm election coming up, and we need to send a report out to just cause all kinds of problems. Here's Wall Street Apes with his take.
So right before midterms, we have ABC and even CNN out reporting on this Navy ship saying that there's bad conditions and that Trump doesn't care about the troops. But of course, the timing is interesting because you never hear them care at all about the military before.
That's right.
But right before midterms, we have this story, and they're saying they have been out there for about 9 months. Well, that's interesting because 9-month deployment on a carrier is normal.
That's right.
It's the military, not a band camp.
Amen.
And let's just take a look. Let's verify that claim. So these people have been out for 9 months. What is the average deployment for a Navy? It looks like naval deployments are about 6 to 9 months. This is exactly how long they've been out there. Okay, well, what about they're on the water? Maybe that's like a circumstance that usually doesn't happen. Well, that's not true either. About 160 to 200 plus days, people are out on the water that are in the Navy. So literally nothing abnormal is happening here, except now we're in a midterms election year and we have the mainstream media trying to find a story that doesn't even exist.
Yep, let's catch it. Good one from Wall Street. Apes, outstanding. And I was in the Marine Corps, and you head out. They would join the Marine Expeditionary Unit, and we'd have to join. And guess what? You're out to sea. You join. You know what? You got food. You're doing your job. You're still getting your reps in. You got to do PT every day. Your training and everything continues. All right. Not only do you have the mainstream media going after us on a daily basis, right? Well, you got the Boston mayor, Michelle. Remember that freak? Let's play this.
We, as a city, will be filing another FOIA request for any responses that have come in from the Boston area so that we know what information they may be sifting through. We strongly oppose any expansion of their efforts here and would...
She's talking about ICE. They're doing a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request to learn what private citizens or businesses are leasing space to the ICE agents. Wow. They're going to harass private property owners, bully them to keep them from exercising their rights as citizens. She is literally the enemy inside of our own country, playing dictator. And they're the ones that say, President Trump, oh my goodness, he's coming after us. He's such a bad person, blah, blah, blah. These are the ones who are filled with evil.
Encourage and will be reaching out to property owners to try to make sure that they're not adding to a surge of unlawful and dangerous activity.
You oppose, but can the city actually block it?
So we've signed an executive order around public property, as have 7 other surrounding municipalities, as has the governor. We cannot block private property, but we will be contacting property owners to make sure they understand our view on how dangerous this could be for our residents and that this is not a way to make our community safer.
We can't block them, but we're going to call them and we're going to talk to them. What are you going to tell them? Are you going to have somebody intimidating? Hey, just want to let you know, you continue supporting ICE, we're coming after you. You know, is that what she's going to do? She's going to call the Yakuza gangs in?
And when you say you're FOIA-ing this information, it sounds like you're looking to find out who's responding, and will you be reaching out to those business owners, what have you, directly?
We look to find as much information as possible about what their plans are, what information they might be looking at in order to have the best possible response and protect our communities.
And
in other words, don't answer your phones when they call, folks. Good Lord. And then, of course, you have the Democrats, Socialists of America targeting the Constitution. I mean, it's amazing, you know, how much, I think it's interesting how much publicity these guys are getting, the TSA. They seem so small, right? They don't seem like that big of a deal. For some reason, it's been pushed out quite a bit about this Democrat, Socialists of America thing.
Stands in the way of their planned revolution as these resurfaced comments give Republicans a new midterm attack line.
The 2 things that we're famous for is our commitment to a program and our hatred of the United States Constitution. And what the program does is it gives us a roadmap to revolution, and it gives us the obstacle that we finally will have to get over to have a revolution.
I'd like to know how many views this actual podcast, Varn Vlog, actually got on YouTube. Maybe somebody can help us figure that one out. I'll have to find out. But it's amazing how you go from a Varn Vlog and all of a sudden you're on Fox News talking about DSA. You know, what if they had the Republican Conservatives of America join together and they're targeting all of the folks against the Constitution? Would that get as much play on Fox News or any other mainstream media outlet? As a matter of fact, if you've got a channel out there that happens to mention Q once in a while and it's got all kinds of followers, does it get play on Fox? I'm just wondering, just thinking out loud. What do you guys think? FBI Director Kash Patel put this out. After an investigation with their DOJ partners, Department of Justice, Dr. Fauci's associate, David Morens, just pleaded guilty to conspiracy in a scheme to avoid FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, and the Federal Records Act connected to COVID-19 research grants. The FBI uncovered that Morens, co-conspirator 1, co-conspirator 2, and others conspired during the COVID-19 plandemic to defraud the United States after the National Institutes of Health terminated co-conspirator 1's grant. NIH terminated the grant, understanding the risk of bat coronavirus emergence based on allegations that COVID-19 emerged from Wuhan Institution of Virology in Wuhan, China. Mr. Morens and his co-conspirators then agreed in writing to intentionally hide their communications from public view by corresponding through Morens' personal Gmail account rather than his official NIH email account. The FBI investigation remains ongoing. No one is above the law. Observing Consciousness gave us a couple of things on this. The cover-up map is widening fast. Morens is the entry point that opens the network mapping. His guilty plea puts a real node on the board, private Gmail, hidden federal communications, multiple co-conspirators, NIH, EcoHealth, and the Wuhan research fight, all tied into the same concealment scheme. Now add Fauci's COVID-era phone. That gives investigators another major communications node they can cross against Morens. The missing Gmail, emails, the grant decisions, FOIA pressure, call logs, contacts, and timelines. That is how the map unfolds. One proven node leads to the next, then the next, until the scattered pieces stop looking scattered at all. Then you have the COVID cascade with that great graphic there on your screen. We have seen this drip, drip, flood exposure cycle play out many times. Let's jump to the tsunami. The COVID cascade is starting to show itself. Fauci takes the fifth 111 times. Morens pleads guilty to concealment conspiracy. Fauci's COVID-era phone enters the map, and suddenly there's no longer one guy, one grant, or one agency. Now you follow the nodes. NIH, NIAID, EcoHealth, Wuhan, scientists, intelligence, non-governmental organizations, global health, media, platforms, pharma, regulators, money. How this cascades. One proven breach gives you records. Records gives you contacts. Contacts gives you timelines. Timelines expose the networks. And the networks reveal who knew what, when, who talked to whom, and who benefited. Maren's may be the breach point, but this is just the tip of a much larger iceberg. Let's play this.
Hello, my name's Harry Fisher. I'm a paramedic that's been trying to warn people about the dangers of COVID-19 vaccines. I've been screaming for years that people have been injured and even died after they've taken those shots. And now, after leaked emails from Anthony Fauci and the people at the NIH in 2021, talking about the fact that they knew it was harming people. They knew it. And yet they decided to cover it up. They decided to dismiss people like me, to gaslight people like me, to tell the general public something was safe when they knew for a fact it wasn't safe. I've been working in the back of these ambulances, watching people succumb to a dangerous product while the people in charge, the people that were running the show, were lying to you and trying to get me fired for telling you about it. Let that sink in. God bless.
Brian Cates reminded us we're endlessly and repeatedly being subjected to attempted psychological manipulation on social media. If you're looking at screen, many folks copy and pasted, put out to the public with these different faces, different graphics and more on X. They all said the same thing. I just left the ER. All these people. No Steppy, Troy Day, Riley, NG Overclocked. I mean, all these different names. They all say the same thing. I just left the ER. We're officially back to getting crushed by COVID-19. Delta variant is running rampant, and it's much more transmissible than the original virus. 99% of our ICU admits did not receive a vaccine. See, they're saying, see, they didn't get a vaccine. They're here. COVID-19 is running rampant. Remember all that psychological warfare, the stuff that they played on us? Oh, no. The truth is finally coming out. The NIH director, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, shares these statistics.
I mean, there's a lot of arguments in the literature about this, but somewhere between 1 in 2,000 and 1 in 10,000 of young men who got the vaccine, COVID vaccine, got myocarditis. I mean, that's too many, especially since the benefit from the vaccine for them was minuscule.
That's right. And it's difficult to go back and revisit all this, and many of us have been affected by it. We know family members and more. I told you we had several in my family, immediate family, others connected that ended up getting sick or worse. And it's just tiring to talk about it all the time, isn't it? I'm going to show you some more on our school systems, information on the Ivy League takeover again, like we had yesterday, additional updates from Preserving Consciousness, what's happening in California with that, and the new U.S. territory hosted by President Trump in a moment. New Spring Wellness Center. Your all-natural one-stop shop for optimal brain health and overall wellness. They're out of Osage Beach, Lake of the Ozarks. Folks, I've been there twice now. You can reach out to Chad and Katie Burrow for support. Are you a loved one or a loved one struggling with addiction? At New Spring Wellness Center, they offer a proven outpatient program that addresses addiction recovery like no other. Their brain restoration program is designed to restore your health, eliminate cravings, and help you achieve lasting recovery. Folks, I have witnessed it for myself. The changes in people who had addictions. They have faith-based support, IV therapy. They have prayer and so much more. John N. said he had alcohol and brain fog. He said, I came to New Spring Wellness for alcohol and brain fog, something I've struggled with for over 30 years. I tried AA before, but this treatment was unique, different than anything else, and it offered a better outcome for me. My head feels so much clearer. My faith has deepened. I've made new friendships, and I have no desire for alcohol, completely different than just 2 weeks ago. Around day 5, I started to feel a real change. There's truly no comparison. I feel renewed. The people here are friendly, professional, and knowledgeable. The patient care is excellent. I'd absolutely recommend this to anyone. Amber was addicted to Xanax for 15 years before coming to New Spring Wellness. Tried the inpatient and outpatient programs, counseling, AA. I came to New Spring to ease withdrawal symptoms in a stress-free environment and to begin repairing my neural pathways. A family member who works in recovery told me about it. Almost instantly, my withdrawal symptoms eased, and I finally had time to focus on myself, surrounded by caring individuals. The emotional support and brain restoration formula made a real difference. By days 2 to 4, I had more energy and better focus. Folks, I've talked to people there, prayed with folks that have come through this program. It will change your life. Go in the description box below and click on that link to change your life or others forever. So, school shutdown spree grips California as enrollment plunges statewide. That's from the New York Post. Wow. Wow. My first thought is a lot of people pulling their kids out of school and saying, that's it, I've had enough. We're homeschooling. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said there's a law out there in California that was passed, and they said that's the reason they left California. Who was it? Oh, yeah. I won't give out the name. But they left 4 years ago, and they said when a law was passed, basically allowing pedos to do whatever they want to little children. All right. Here's the headline, Joe Lang. California schools are closing at an alarming rate. California's public school enrollment fell by 1.3% during the 25-26 school year, meaning nearly 75,000 fewer students were enrolled. It was the biggest annual drop since 21-22. It's the biggest annual drop since COVID. I wonder why. Says Joe Lang. The article gives 3 possible reasons. Joe said he'll offer a 4th. The culprit is a nasty cocktail of factors. Families moving out of California or to less expensive parts of the state. Immigration enforcement, and a dramatic decline in the number of babies being born. Families and businesses are definitely moving out of California at a rapid pace, and they are losing population. Very true. There's a dramatic decline in the birth rate in California, too. Who wants to raise children in a state that is hard to survive in because of the cost of living? But I think the immigration enforcement is the key issue, and it connects to a 4th issue not mentioned. California had the largest number of illegals in the country. Their free benefits for illegals and sanctuary status were a magnet for many years, but everything changed with Trump. He has now closed the border and massively accelerated the deportation of illegals. California was put in the crosshairs. I think a lot of illegals have also left California, and that's why their public school enrollment is crashing. That's a good point. There are reported 2 million illegals who have already self-deported. I bet many were from California. But here's the 4th reason why I think California, according to Joe Lang, public school enrollment is plummeting. Trump has cut off a lot of federal funding for various programs because of fraud. California is not supposed to be spending federal tax dollars for free benefits for illegals, including education. California no longer has an open spigot of federal taxpayer dollars and can't fill that huge budget hole. No more free food, rent, healthcare, or welfare for illegals. Their daily funding got cut off, and California is a high cost of living state, one of the highest in the country. So I believe 2 things are happening. Illegals are both self-deporting and moving to other states where the cost of living is much cheaper. How many of the suddenly disappearing students in California public schools are illegals? It was likely a lot, and you can bet there are still a lot of illegals and citizens who have moved out of state still on the California voter registration rolls. And of course, I'll add again, how many people pulled their kids and said, that's it, I've had enough. We're going to start homeschooling. Speaking of California, before I get into more on schools, Golden State spurned Trump Department of Transportation chief reroutes California rail money to train safety elsewhere. Yet another California Democrat money stream cut off. No more taxpayer-funded Democrat elections. The train to nowhere was never going to be built. Remember that train they were going to build? It was always a money pit to fund Democrat Party elections. The same goes for the homelessness problem in L.A., San Francisco, and Seattle. Trump is cutting that federal money off because of fraud, too. Money flow disruption. The Democrats can't survive without fraud and stolen taxpayer money. And then they have to do their brainwashing in the universities too. Remember we talked about Harvard, the Harvard narrative, thanks to Observing Consciousness with this thread. I put it in the description box below. Click on that, folks, at HOLON above, and subscribe to him. He's taking care of us in many ways, and I'm loving these. The Harvard narrative is just the beginning. The university capture architecture. Harvard dates back to 1636, but the architecture wrapped around institutions is already centuries in making. So we're going to follow this thread. Far enough, and education stops looking like a collection of schools and starts revealing itself as strategic infrastructure, the place where legitimacy is manufactured, expertise is credentialed, research is financed, technology is developed, networks are formed, and influence moves downstream into government, finance, medicine, media, industry, and national power. Harvard's not the whole story. It is the doorway that opens the timeline wide enough to see the system behind it. Over the past 3 years, I've written over a dozen articles tracing pieces of this architecture: Harvard, foreign funding, Confucius Institutes, research access, talent pipeline, federal grants, technology transfer, and downstream placement. So let's look into this. We'll start with the origins of power. Universities have always sat close to power because education has never been only about transferring knowledge. It determines who is recognized as credible, who is trained to administer institutions, who interprets law and medicine, who receives access to elite networks, and ultimately who is permitted to shape the direction of society. Go back centuries and the pattern is already visible. Medieval universities developed beside church and crown, educating clergy and lawyers and physicians and scholars and administrators who moved directly into the institutions governing society. Then war changed the scale. World War I tightened the relationship between science and government. World War II fused universities directly into the national security architecture as laboratories, mathematicians, physicists, engineers, and physicians became strategic assets. The Cold War locked that transformation into place. Federal research money poured into American universities. The labs expanded, and the government agencies built permanent relationships with campuses. You see that? Government started working with them. Then you had defense, aerospace, computing, medicine, and all that, all intertwined. That was the inflection point. The university was no longer simply a place where knowledge was taught. It had become infrastructure through which knowledge was produced, credentialed, financed, weaponized, commercialized, and distributed into the institutions governing modern civilization. Once that happened, access to the university meant access to far more than classrooms. It meant access to the machinery producing the future. So around the earth, it opened the architecture. Once the universities became the strategic infrastructure, this whole earth changed on who could reach them, who could reach these universities. The same openness that made American universities extraordinary. International collaboration, scientific exchange, foreign students, you guys know that, visiting scholars, joint research, private philanthropy, and global academic partnerships. All this with money, people, technology, crossing borders. The openness became America's greatest strength, one of the most valuable access points in the geopolitical system. Foreign governments no longer needed to reproduce the entire American research ecosystem domestically, right? They didn't have to produce their own, so they come over to America. They could build relationships with universities already sitting atop federal grants, advanced labs, and world-class facilities and faculty, and all that intellectual property. And the corporate sponsorships and partnerships, right? All these great networks that the alumni had. And the flows multiplied. Foreign gifts could create institutional relationships. Academic partnerships could create research exchanges. And I'm just going to skim through some of this, folks, for you. You can read the whole thing in the description box below. But I'm just giving you some of these highlights, okay? The same institution might simultaneously receive funding from the Department of Defense, right? Some of this DOD money comes in. We talked about that, how Harvard got it. Now they're doing the investigation on, right? 30 of the institutions have to report. NIH, all these private industries, advanced laboratories, host foreign researchers, partner with overseas universities, launch companies, all this stuff coming from there. That concentration is extraordinary. All of this around the earth did not create the university power structure. It opened the gates already built over centuries. And then the geopolitical contest shifted. It was no longer simply who could build the best university. It became who could gain access to the universities that already concentrated the world's most valuable research, technology, prestige, and human capital. Then China comes in, becomes the most modern layer, visible. They did not invent this architecture. China learned how to use it at scale. Confucius Institutes became the most recognizable public face of that strategy because they placed Chinese government-supported academic programs directly inside universities around the world. They began expanding internationally in 2004. By 2011, more than 70 were operating in the United States. And then 2019, 100 existed across American colleges and universities, backed by more than $150 million in Chinese government support. Wow. That was the visible layer. But the deeper relationship between China and Western academia extended far beyond language and cultural centers. Chinese universities entered research partnerships with American institutions. Oh, yeah. All that talent came across. The strategic logic was straightforward. American universities sat on top of enormous concentrations of taxpayer-funded research. Get that, folks? Your money. All that created advanced labs, the scientific expertise and prestige. China was simultaneously pursuing rapid advancement in AI. All of this intersected. That's why the disappearance of Confucius Institute signs never meant the underlying geopolitical question disappeared. By 2023, fewer than 5 traditional Confucius Institutes remained in the United States, yet scrutiny increasingly shifted toward the relationships behind the branding. The mapping is simple: money, researchers, laboratories, agreements, technology, credentials, and all these networks of alumni. Simply the first layer that became impossible to ignore. Then you have the geopolitical contest. Once the architecture becomes visible, the China story simply immediately expands into something larger. All of this, China represents the largest and most extensively documented modern pressure vector. Russia brings a different historical profile. Iran's interests intersect. North Korea, different states, different methods, same strategic prize. It's not just a diploma. It's access to the knowledge production infrastructure of the United States. That's right. A single professor can participate in academic research. These aren't simply academic fields anymore. They are the building blocks, folks, of economic military capability, and whoever gains durable access to the people and institutions producing those capabilities, well, they gain leverage far beyond the campus. And then I'll just show you a couple more on the outline here. Foreign money enters through gifts and contracts. You guys know that. We've been catching them. Sponsored research and partnerships. Remember, that's how Wuhan Lab ended up connecting with all of this. University acts as the conversion point. Graduates move into government agencies where policy is written. The downstream movement is why universities are so crucial. A researcher trained today can lead a lab 20 years from now. A graduate student can become a cabinet official. A university startup can become critical infrastructure. A scientific partnership can become a commercial supply chain. And an academic network can become a policy network. It all has access, provides access to the university. Who has access to the university? What does the access become once it moves downstream? And then it reaches the present timeline. For years, governments focused heavily on visible organizations. These were necessary targets because They provided identifiable nodes. For what? Confucius Institutes, named talent programs, foreign partnerships, and more. Thread comes full circle. Centuries ago, universities produced clergy, lawyers, physicians, and administrators for church and crown. Industrialization turned them into engines of national science. War fused them into the state. Federal investment transformed them into research powerhouses. And then the earth opened them to the world. Foreign states recognized their strategic value. Now the United States is beginning to examine the resulting network at the level of relationships rather than logos. That's the awakening arc beneath this entire story about Harvard and others that are being investigated, folks. The university capture architecture was never hiding because nobody could see the universities. It was hiding because almost nobody was looking at everything connected to them at once. Well, great work, great thread from Observing Consciousness on what we need to know about what's playing out with these universities. Tremendous. You know, we're going to get into a lot more, especially with Sophie Cunningham, some drops from the board where, polls are fake from Spencer Pratt. And boy, oh boy, we're going to get into that, the mashup of all the interesting information about these students and more in a moment. But first, I wanted to show you our gear. If you guys go to our website, andweknow.com, and you hit that shop button, you can send you pictures of folks wearing your gear for And We Know. We hope that you guys will go check that out and send it to us. We'd love to have it. So Spencer Pratt put this out. Remember, all polls are fake. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. He posted that August 18th, 2026. You know, he posted at a time that makes you wonder if he's following the Q stuff, because Ultra Magadine said, man, he must be queuing this up for the fake news. Because he posted at 12:18 a.m. Well, 12:18 says, we have a very good relationship with Maggie Haberman of Politico over the last year. We have had her tee up stories for us before. Never been disappointed. These stories will only matter or hurt us if we keep pushing hard and get too much chatter out there. Push fake news, 4 a.m., mainstream media, pre-bad news, and them. Well, don't follow the polls. They are fake, says Spencer Pratt. The fake news media is getting their 4 a.m. talking points. See, it's almost like he's connected. 12:18 push saying, hey, folks, fake news. So I would anticipate a big push of a story from fake news to distract us from the bad news that's about to drop about them, also known as the deep state. Good catch there. Remember, President Trump has been teasing us the new U.S. territory, Strait of Hormuz. Oh, man. And speaking of the United States and supporting the U.S., you guys saw the other day, Sophie Cunningham, standing there with her team, the WNBA. You know, they've been in the spotlight quite a bit with the transgender issues and more. But if you guys are looking at your screen, if you're not looking, the entire team, during the national anthem, nobody has their hands over their heart. Their hands are dropped, crossed arms, moving around. The only person with their hand over her heart is Sophie Cunningham. That's it. Not even Caitlin Clark has the hand over the heart. Yeah, just throwing that out there for those that support Caitlin. Sophie's the only one. Just want to make sure you guys know. And you look across to the other side, no hands over their heart either. Yeah. All right. Developing.
Showdown is hitting America's highways. The Trump administration wants the records of 17 million commercial drivers as it cracks down on who's allowed behind the wheel of trucks and buses. But more than 20 states are suing to stop it. Senior correspondent Mike Tobin is reporting on all of this out of Chicago for us. Hey, Mike.
And Sandra, the Trump administration is trying to get information from state databases about drivers operating big rigs so they can find which of them are in the U.S. illegally. The administration is threatening to withhold federal funds to the states that don't hand over the data. And attorneys general now from more than 20 different states are suing to block the information. Marcus Coleman's daughter, Delilah, was severely injured when they were hit by a truck driven by a man in the U.S. illegally back in 2024. She just went through another brain surgery. Coleman says his family has been changed forever. And sanctuary politicians favor illegal immigrants over the safety of someone like his daughter.
The government already has that information to begin with. We're not big brothering anybody. We're making sure that the person who has the driver license is the person who's supposed to have the driver license. Not to mention, the only people that are trying to stop this from going through are the people who have something to hide.
Yeah. Let's get some more on these foreigners entering the United States. Listen to this. Forbes magazine is very worried America won't be importing as many Indians and international students as we normally do.
There could be as many as 112,000 fewer international students coming to the U.S. this academic year, and that would mean $3.4 billion in lost economic contributions to the U.S. economy.
Oh, so they're saying it's going to be a loss for the U.S. economy. Oh, my goodness. These international students were actually helping us. Wall Street Apes helps.
He's actually going to fly to India to speak to high school counselors. I mean, what kind of mental illness would drive somebody to do something like that? Why are they so worried about foreigners being imported in America? Well, I know the answer to that, and I'll tell you in a second. But first, let's go ahead and look at the comment section because I think it's pretty interesting. Look at this. Great. More opportunity for U.S. students.
That's right.
It's not up to U.S. taxpayers to educate international students.
Amen.
That's amazing. We go down a little bit further. Great. That means more American students will have greater opportunities to get into these universities. That's absolutely true. Means there's more room for American applicants. Good. American students can now attend those master's and PhD programs. Great. Then American students won't have problems getting into their needed classes. Great news. America is not solely an economic zone. It is a country. What a great comment, because that's something that these people right here, they just don't understand that. You know, it also has to do with the people who live in the country and their quality of life. We are not just an economic zone for these people. We are a country and we should have a good life around our own people. Now, who is this woman? Let's just take a look here. We'll go to her profile. Anna something Smith. Let's see. She's an author, contributor to Forbes. Well, there it is.
There it is. Contributor to Forbes. Fake news doing all they can to play their games that they do. Let's go to President Trump. Deportations are surging and will continue. They had President Trump speaking an hour over and over again. Over and over again. Deportations. Deportation. For an hour and 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And here's a reminder for all the deportations that are playing out. Do you guys remember this one?
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Remember that one? Oh, that was so good. I loved it. And so let me let you hear what the White House posted right here. Ready? White House, deportations are surging. Listen to what they played for an hour. Right here.
Deportations, large deportations, large deportations, large deportations, large deportations.
And that goes on for an hour, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Large deportations. And then they posted this one. Deportations are spiking August 18, 2026. And there's President Trump up there on top of the White House looking pretty scary. Well, that's playing out. Deportations are not really happening in Suerte. You know, a lot of people were told, oh, these guys showed up and then they left. Oh, no. Oh, no, it's been bad. It's been really bad. A furious woman is confronted by police in Suerte because her dog is upsetting the Muslims. Yeah. She's screaming, I'm terrified. How am I supposed to take the dog out? In my life, neither the police nor the military protect me. The dog protects me because it's the only thing that they're afraid of. She's the only one who protects me because there are no military or police on the streets. We're terrified. I'm terrified. Are you seeing this? And she points out, how are we supposed to go outside? You can't live like this. I'm terrified. I'm fed up with this. You have no idea what we're putting up. I live in fear in this own city, in my street. I can't even take the dog out. I'm terrified. I'm 29 years old and I can't go on the street alone. Look at the street. Look in front of the police. Look at the street all morning, all night. 2 in the morning, I had to call the police because they wouldn't stop yelling and fighting with each other. It's scary. All day, every day. Let the people from the mainland come and see it. Until you're out on the street and you see it, you don't know what it is like to be here. And she points out the filth on the streets. And these guys are like, oh, we got complaints about your dog. Yeah, the Muslims are there. And that's what they do. They can't stand the dogs, A mother in Ceuta is broken down in tears on live TV. She said, my 16-year-old daughter has to go everywhere with her father or with me because the migrants devour her. I can't take it anymore. I want them all gone. Well, that's in Ceuta. I mean, I spent my whole life, just me personally, I would never let my family members out of my sight, especially my daughter. She goes with me everywhere, even in America, because there's nowhere that we can go where I feel like she's safe. People would say, well, that's overprotection. I'll just tell you what, I don't want her to be another statistic on all the junk that happens. And it's sad. That's why we want our country cleaned up of this junk. Speaking of all of this Muslim invasion stuff, this guy right here says he's leaving Islam.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, what deen am I a part of? What kind of people do we have? Like, I don't want to identify with these kinds of people. It's crazy, man. Then I have to think, you know what? These people don't represent Islam. Their actions don't represent Islam. These people are not acting like Muslim. They're not following the Sunnah. They're not following Islam as it should be. Because wallahi, some of these people, bro, I'm telling you, man, they just want...
Maybe they are following it the way it should be. So he thinks they aren't. But you kind of read through the Quran and you start realizing some strange things going on.
For this guy, because he is so close to realizing that something is wrong and he is in a cult. You know, he likes the spiritual side of it, but he doesn't like the people. He doesn't like how it makes the people act. And what he's feeling is that he needs religion. He needs spirituality. But he's in a cult and he's so close to realizing that it's so like hard to watch these people struggle with this because they know something is wrong. And look at the comments. Was Muslim, got baptized today, studied the Bible and compare it with the Quran. So there are people leaving. My partner, Pakistani Muslim, left Islam, now Christian. I left Islam beginning of the year, much happier and peaceful. Jesus is the way, Jesus is Lord. Straight up a cult.
So you're seeing that folks are actually realizing what's going on, and our Heavenly Father's answering prayers as we've been praying for these guys somehow, some way. Now, listen to this from 2016, and then look at 2026 out of.
Now we are in danger of being swamped by Muslims.
Australia. This is Australia.
And ideology that is incompatible with our own. I love my country, culture, and way of life. My pride and patriotism was instilled in me from an early age when I watched the Australian flag raised every morning at school.
Yep, and so they're thankful. Whoever posted this said that their party is surging in the polls. And of course, we're hoping that their elections aren't rigged like they are around this earth to get this invasion that's playing out by our enemy, Satan himself, throughout this entire earth. And of course, part of that satanic demonic move across the country was because of Obama. President Trump put this out. If President Trump can be impeached and indicted for the fake Russian collusion story, actually put, then Barack Obama should go to prison for creating it. That's right. He should go to prison for just destroying our country. Other countries being destroyed.
I almost didn't post this. 250,000. That's the estimated number of British girls who have been raped by Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs in the United Kingdom. 250,000 children. And the police knew, the local authorities knew, the government knew, and they did nothing for decades because they were afraid of being called racists or Islamophobes. Let me say that again. They let 250,000 girls be raped, and the crimes went unpunished because they did not want to be called a bad name. These men, grown men, targeted white girls as young as 11 and 12 years old. They often gave them drugs. They gave them alcohol. They passed them around to dozens of men. And when the girls went to the British police, they were often ignored. One officer actually told a victim she'd made a lifestyle choice. A lifestyle choice. She was 12 years old. But it gets worse. One of the suspects, a man named Rukhsar Ahmed, was arrested at Manchester Airport on suspicion of raping and trafficking underage girls from care homes. He was released on bail. He then flew to Pakistan. And last month, great news! He was elected to the Pakistani parliament. Yes, it's true. A suspected child rapist is now a member of parliament in Pakistan. And the government in Pakistan refuses to send him back for his trial. It's not ancient history. It's happening right now today.
It's happening today. Also, North Carolina's governor just told every resident to observe Ramadan. Do you guys know that Governor Josh Stein issued an official state proclamation recognizing Ramadan? Went further than simple acknowledgement. Document declares that Islamic traditions and values serve as an inspiration and reflection for millions, and that the Muslim community will celebrate, quote, the revelation of the Quran and its teachings. It then states, I'm proud to recognize the contribution of Muslim Americans, and ends by proclaiming the dates as Ramadan and commend its observance already. Do you guys see it? You following what's going on? The First Amendment was written to prevent exactly this kind of entanglement. North Carolinians should decide whether their government's job includes promoting religious observance or simply protecting the right of every citizen to practice or not practice their faith freely. A couple of good things here. I wanted to show you this. Inflation by presidency. If you're looking at this, month 4 all the way to month 48, President Trump is at the best, 4.71%. Then you got Obama, 4.94%. Trump in his first term was 8%. Obama's first term, 9.38%. Clinton, 9%, all the way up to Biden, 21%. Just in case you guys were wondering. And wanted to show you this also. President Trump said, I paused the 50% tariffs against Canada, and they were scheduled to kick in tomorrow morning for a 3-day period. Based on the fact that Canada and the USA, subject to the finalization of documents, have a deal, the Great Keystone XL pipeline, long ago killed by Sleepy Joe Biden, may be awoken from the grave. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And there it is, the Keystone buried by Biden, President Trump holding that Keystone. Completely free energy, jobs, America first. Man, what a great post. Great things happening for our country. For you guys, you know that getting away from fiat currency into precious metals, we discuss this all the time. Our great interviews from Dr. Kirk Elliott, making waves. We're watching silver go up in the month of August as predicted, and put out by many. And we know.com/gold. You want to get your IRAs over from fiat to precious metals, especially silver, folks. Now's the time to do it. It is a great time to reach out to him. Just wanted to give you that real quick. Wanted to show you this.
Honka, who's fired from her teaching position in Denver about a month ago.
Jennifer Honka, Denver teacher. Remember, she was fired for this.
For making female students kiss each other during classroom skits and grading them on it. What's she doing now, you might ask? Well, she just found a new job. Right there. No, your eyes do not deceive you. She was just hired to be a teacher at an elementary school. I thought that this went without saying, but there is absolutely no place for people like that in our education system. That person should never have a teaching role ever again. Nothing close to it. The fact that she's allowed to teach again, and not just teach, elementary school students, is disgusting. I've seen a lot of people talking about how they're actively reaching out to that school district to get her fired. Yes, rightfully so. We need to stand up for our children, and people like that do not belong anywhere near children at all. She does not need to be a teacher ever again, and she has shown it.
That's right. I've seen this quite a bit, folks, and I worked in the education side in the government, and I tell you, the many times I watched them shift and move teachers and principals and leadership around from school to school because accusations would fly from these children. It would just rattle your mind what you discover and how these unions protect them. A multi-state cocaine trafficking network ran out of Penn State's fraternity houses for packaging and distribution. Some pledges were required to help as an initiation step. Prosecutors say the ring moved drugs from New York and Philadelphia into State College and have charged 14 individuals so far. The university expressed horror at the claims. One fraternity is suspended and the other lacks official recognition. Investigators continue to map the full scope of participation. Man, a lot going on in these schools, huh? A lot of exposure. A lot of exposure. Yeah. And I've got a lot more to share with you. We're going to do that in the future. Wanted to show you this as we close. a perfect example why you shouldn't protest things you don't understand.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not
Don't you think it's homophobic
the gays of Hormuz?
that we don't protest against the Straits? You know, they're calling it the Straits of Hormuz. Why don't they call it the gays of Hormuz? So these brainwashed at a No Kings rally in New York City, I thought this was good. A comedian asked progressive activists if it's homophobic, right? Calling it the Straits of Hormuz, right? Are you straight or are you gay? Instead of the gays of Hormuz, she doesn't miss a beat.
I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, like, you know, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war, it just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're gonna go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right.
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
Yep. Straits of Hormuz is a real choke point that carries 20% of the world's oil. She had no clue. This is the activist class in 2026. Loud, confident, completely detached from reality. Here we are with the school system again. They showed up with signs and slogans but couldn't find Iran on a map. Their life depended on it. And these people vote. Just remember, thank you, Stand for Britain, for posting that. Boy, we went through a lot today, folks. The major one is, don't forget the victories that were played out across the board. We're going to win, put out by Department of War CTO. President Trump 45-47 on his hat. In that post, remember, at 9:37, we are winning big.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you again, just thanking you for your continued guidance and direction in our lives and how you've watched over us in so many ways. We could have been destroyed completely. You saw it. You heard the prayers of the many across this earth, the children that are being trafficked, the trafficking of human souls, the fraud, the importation of so much evil into our country to destroy it. We've asked for your protection. We've watched many get arrested. And we know that a lot more has to be done. So we just ask that you continue to guide us through this midterm elections, that it's done fair, that the folks that are being watched, and more. We certainly couldn't make it without you. So we cry out to you, come boldly before your throne, and make these requests known unto you. Please continue to protect our president and those on the front lines. Please watch out for our families also as we continue to the spiritual warfare in so many levels. We bring this before you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Thank you, folks, for your support. Thank you for your prayers and so much more midweek. You are so good to us. So good to us. For now, this LT Semper Fi, with them we know. Signing out.